Hello and welcome to another Learn Scratch tutorial. Today we're going to teach you how to make a maze game in Scratch. So first thing we're going to do, as always, is let's get some basic functionality going. Let's get Scratch the Cat walking around the screen. Nice and easy to start off. First thing we'll do is we'll use the shrink tool up here at the top, and let's shrink him nice and small so he's a good size. Perfect. That's about the sort of size for a maze. That's brilliant. Good. And that's perfect. What we're going to do here as well is we could, if we wanted, use the when space pressed or when right arrow pressed. Let me show you. You could do like that. And then you could increase his X or his Y. So let's say, if the right arrow is pressed, he's going to go across. And just like in maths, we have X axes and Y axes. Your X is how far across you are. Your Y is how far up and down you are. And you can see your coordinates down here and your axis, your actual coordinates. So if you watch this X, the middle of the screen is 0. Let's see if I can get in the middle of X. There we go. And as we move it across, then to the right, his X will go up. Or if we move move our mouse cursor to the left, our X will go down. So up and down. And similar with the Y axis, if you go up, then you increase your Y coordinates or your Y axis, and if you go down, then you decrease it. So we could say when right arrow pressed, let's change X by 10, and that will mean that if I press it, it will go right, which is good. And we could do the same for left. We could say, let's just move it out of the way. Let's have a go at that. When left arrow pressed, and this time, there we go, instead of changing it by 10, which would make it go right, we need to change it, we need to make it go left. So that would be, let's see if you can work that one out, -10. There we go. So we could do it, if you go right, it changes it by 10 each time, increases it. If you press the left arrow, then it will do by -10. Now that's okay. That's quite good. But if you notice, if you look at my Scratch here, at the moment I'm pressing the right arrow key and then doing the left, right and then left. If you notice, what happens is when I switch between one key and the next key, there's a bit of a pause. Scratch kind of stops. It's not very responsive. And that's because we're on this event-based version. So we're going to switch it slightly. Instead of doing event-based, we're going to use a game loop. And we're going to use a game sensing loop. So let's have a look. It's going to be a forever loop because we want it constantly checking. And we're going to use a series of if statements. And all we do is, for instance, the left arrow. If the left arrow key is pressed, there's the left. Then let's move that from there to there. So it's slightly different. We've got this loop. Now, this loop has two advantages. Number one is it's constantly checking. I don't know how many times a second it's checking, but I'm guessing about 100 times a second, once every 10 milliseconds. So that checks quite often, which means it's very, very responsive. As soon as you press that left arrow key, then it will immediately pick up on that and start to move, which makes it a bit more responsive in Scratch. It also means as well, another advantage which is slightly related but different, is that if you come to program in other languages like Python or some of the other game languages, this game loop is quite common, so you can construct this in other languages. A lot of the time you don't have this event-based process that you can attach to, like when something pressed. They often don't have that. So this is the way that you do it. So it does, and it also gets you used to using forever loops and if statements, which is great. This is really good programming. So there we go. There we go. So there you go. Left arrow pressed and right arrow pressed. And now if we get rid of that, notice we've got to say when start pressed. At the moment, if I press the right and left arrow keys, you can maybe be able to hear me. It doesn't do anything. So what we have to do is let's press the start, and now you can see it's much more responsive, much smoother, much smoother. I press right, press left, it instantly does what it needs to do. And in our maze game, if we start to add baddies, then, or things that are moving and things like that, anything that's animated on the enemy, then it's going to make a difference, that response time. You need it to be able to move quickly. So that's going to work really well. So we've got the left, we've got the right arrow, and let's do one for up. Now there we go. Let's have a look. If key pressed up. There we go. Left, right, up. This time we're not going to change the X coordinate because the X controls left and right. We're going to change the Y coordinate. There we go. So up arrow pressed, change Y by 10. Good. That means now if I press up, yep, you can go right, you can go left, you can go up. And the last one is for down. Notice I used the duplicate there because I'm getting lazy. That's good. We like to be lazy. All good programmers are lazy. So let's have a look. If down arrow press, change Y by, can you guess what it'll be? -10. There we go, -10. No, not -110. That might be a bit far. There you go. And now we've got a Scratch that can move up, down, right, and left. Perfect. Also, actually, it's got another advantage as well, that you can move it diagonal as well. If you press up and left or down and right, you can move in diagonals as well. That's okay, which is really, really good. If you don't want that, if you do want to force Scratch so it can only go up, down, left or right, a bit like, say, Pac-Man does when he moves, then you can't just use if statements. You'll have to use an if, else, and then you'd actually have a series of if-elses. So it'd probably look something like if, else, if, and then the final would be an if inside that else there. So it would look like that, and then each one of these, you'd fit them inside of those, because that way what it does is if it does this one, it will move there, and then it would drop off the end of the code, which means it won't try and do all the other ones here because they're connected with the if-else. They're inside of this chain of commands. So you could do it like that if you wanted. This way I'm going to keep it like this for the moment. I might change it later if I want to. There we go. So now I've got Scratch moving up, down, left and right. Perfect. So that's part one done. Good. And good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make our maze. So let's click on the stage. Let's click on the stage. Let's click on the backdrop. Now you're going to want to spend quite a bit of time making your maze for each of your levels. In fact, actually, let's change this to level 1. There we go. You're going to want to spend some time making each of your levels because a good level design for a maze is important. It's important that it starts off easy so that people get the hang of it, the controls, it's not too hard, and then each level gets steadily and more difficult. Now, how it gets difficult could be to do with the maze, to design the maze. It could be the number of enemies or things that move or a time limit or whatever you want to do. But you've got to spend quite a bit of time developing your game to ensure it. So I'm not going to spend that time because this is just a tutorial, just to give you an idea. But you will want to spend quite a bit of time doing that and coming up with a clever maze design. But I'm just going to do a nice simple one for the moment. So I'm just using the square tool, make sure it's there on solid. And I do it as a solid colour at the moment. There we go. If you do want to do a maze design that's not using solid colours, for instance using gradients or multicoloured walls, etc., etc., don't put your walls on the backdrop because this only works for a simple version where it just tests if you're touching a colour. If you want to do walls that are different colours, create your walls as a sprite. And then at the bit where we do touching colour, you can put a different block on that says touching that particular sprite. There's a little hint for you if you want to do that version rather than this. But we're doing it this way. We're doing a nice simple version. There we go. And there's my maze. There's my maze. It's good. And I'm going to do a start over here. And then my finish is over here in the top right. So the idea is you get from here to here. I might put some power-ups in it later on if I want to for a bit of extra score or something. And good, that's perfect. So there's my stage. There's Scratch the sprite. Now at the moment, if I press start, then you'll notice Scratch, he starts halfway, or he starts really wherever you left him off in the level. So that's not a lot of use at the moment. We don't want him to start wherever he wants. we want him to start at the start. Now, the easiest way to do that is to drag him over onto the bottom left-hand corner. In fact, before I do that, just check out this go to here. Look at those coordinates there and watch what happens to them if I move them over here. Look what they've done. They've changed. So now what I can do is I can take this go to and I'll do that. When start clicked, go to that corner. So now, there we go. Whenever I press start, it starts at the start. And we can walk up, around. Good. There we go. And he can go up to the end. But at the moment, obviously there's a bit of a problem because whenever he touches the wall, nothing happens. So we need to sort that out next. Good. So what are we going to do? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, anytime you touch the wall, you're just going to go back to the start. So that's a nice easy way, really easy way of doing it. You just say if touching color, there we go. If touching color, click on that box there, black. And if touching color, we're going to go back. Oh, oops, don't want all that. We're going to go back to the start. There we go. So now, if we go up like here, oh, yeah, we saw that there. If I touch the wall, he goes back to the start. That makes it a little bit more difficult, doesn't it? Ooh, yeah, there we go. Let's go. Oh, there we are. Oh, do. Now, this is already getting quite hard, and the reason is because I've done it by 10, move 10 each time, each way. So I'm going to change that to 5 because 10 is just a bit too much, and it seems to be a little bit hard. So again, with your game, you're going to want to, there we go, there you go. You're going to want to adjust it, whatever values you want. There we go, good. Okay, now one more thing as well. Scratch here, he's sort of moving around the maze, which is good, and we're getting it towards from the start to the end, which is always good. There we go. You could do that, that's perfect. So you can move from the start to the end, which is fine. But it's not really walking, is it? So we change it so he walks. Now this is quite easy. All I have to say is, where's my change costume? So Scratch at the moment, he's got 2 costumes. Costume 1, costume 2. If he's only got 2 costumes, this game's going to work really well. Because if you look as I click from one costume to the next, if you actually look at Scratch the cat there, he looks like he's actually walking. It's a nice simple way of animating walking. And it's pretty much the basis of how cartoons work. That's how people walk. Usually they'll have more than 2 costumes. They'll have about 4 or 5 and they cycle through them, which gives it quite a realistic look. But we've just got 2 costumes, which is fine. But that works for us because what we can say here is we can say, we'll just use this next costume block. There we go, next costume, next costume, next costume, next costume. There we go. And now, as I move him, if you have a look at Scratch, there we go. As he moves through the maze, oh, that's quite hard. Now you'll probably have to move some of your blocks if you do notice that if he's touching stuff, you might have to move some of your walls slightly, or maybe make Scratch a bit smaller, who knows. There we go, he seems to get, oh, this game's quite hard already. Let's have a look. Oh, there you go. Okay, so it is doable. The first level's doable quite easily. Good. Perfect. Good. So now we've got a game where when we press start, Scratch is over here. And where we get from here, we have to get from the start of the level to the end of the level. So how do we do the end of the level? There's lots of different ways you could do it. You could say each time you could have him so that if his coordinates are in a certain area that he's at the end of the level, that takes quite a bit of programming. An easy way of doing it is just to go onto your stage, go onto your backdrop, and then we'll do the end position as a different colour. Let's say a blue circle. A blue circle. There we go. There we go. So, and oops, there's a blue circle. Good. That's his goal. That's where he's got to get to. You could probably write finish on it if you wanted to write finish, or end or something, or goal or level 2 or whatever you want to put. And there we go. And now what we can say is we can say just like we did with the if touching colour black, we're going to do a similar thing. If touching colour that colour, then we need to, well, what do we need to do? Well, this is where we need to do a bit of programming to make it all work, a bit more clever. So each time we change our level, different things are going to happen, a number of things are going to happen. So in order to make them happen, we need to know a couple of things. Our game needs to know a few things. And the first thing it needs to know is it needs to know what level it's currently on. And at the moment it doesn't know. We know we're on level 1 because we're clever. We know that you always start on level 1. We're used to that, but computers, unless you tell them it's level 1, they don't know. So first thing we need to do is we need to create a variable, and let's call this level, because we're going to keep track of what level it is. And we need to say specifically that at the start of the game, let's set the level to 1. So now when we press start, the level is number 1. Good, perfect. So at the start of the game, the level is 1. Brilliant. Now what happens when we touch the colour? Well, a few things happen, but the first thing we need to do before they can all happen is let's change our level by 1. Good. Which actually is really quite useful, because what it means is here, anytime we touch the colour blue, whatever level we were on, let's increase that by 1. So if we were on level 1, let's go to level 2. If we were on level 2, we're now going to go to level 3. If we were on level 3, we're going to go to level 4, and so on and so on. So it does mean now that with one block of code, we can do quite a lot of clever stuff. So if we, let's have a look, if touching colour blue, change level by 1. And we also need to do a lot of other things as well. And there's two other things specifically we need to do. First of all is, if Scratch is here, and we go from level 1, where we start him here, level 2, I'm going to get him to start over here, I've decided. That's going to be his next position. So I'm going to say we need to move the cat from here to over here, and our actual backdrop, our level design, also needs to change from the level 1 design to level 2 design. So how do we do this? Well, we could try and program it all inside of this if statement, but that's going to get pretty messy. So what we do instead is we use something called broadcasts. Now, Scratch's broadcasts are really, really useful, because what you can do is, let's call this next level, please. Next level. So what we could do is we could broadcast a message that says next level. And it doesn't actually do anything. It just broadcasts this message, which allows all of the sprites to listen out for that message. And when they hear that broadcast, they can then choose to do something if they want to. So what does Scratch do if he receives this message? So if Scratch receives this message, next level, then he knows that he needs to move somewhere. But where does he move? Well, where he moves depends on which level it is. So now we can take this level circular one here from the variables bit, and let's do an equals. And we can say if the level equals level 2, then we will move Scratch to up here. There we go. There we go. So when I receive next level, if the level equals 2, go to that point there. Good. Excellent. So let's see if that works. Also as well, actually, is once we've done that, we also need to change our backdrop from level 1. Let's create a new one. Let's call this level 2. Level 2. There we go, level 2. And we can say, when I receive next level, same thing, exactly the same thing. If level equals 2, then we'll set the backdrop to switch backdrop to level 2. There you go. And you can keep adding to this when you get to the next level bits. Let's have a look. So let's just go back to level 1. There we go. Let's see if this works. Oh, too close. I think I'm going to have to make that gap a little bit bigger. It's a bit mean for level 1. There we go. There we go. Perfect. So, what's happened? Scratch has moved from there over to there, and the level backdrop has changed to the next level backdrop. That's perfect. Working perfect. So let's have a go at level 2 backdrop. Let's have a look. Black. There we go. Again, if I keep the black wall, oops. If I keep the black wall, what happened there? The wall was a little bit too close to him. Here we go. So now what we've got here is, this is no good, because that's a little bit low. So we need to change that Y to a little bit higher up. There we go. Perfect. Now there is also another problem as well, because here the problem you've got is if touching black, go to, at the moment he's always going to go to that coordinate in that bottom corner. That's no good. It needs to be a little bit more dynamic. It needs to go to the correct position. Well, how do we know the correct position? Well, the easiest way to do that here is, instead of touching black there, why don't we broadcast next level without changing the level? Let's have a look, because what that means then is, there we go, it will go on to the next level, but without going on to the next level. So it'll restart the level effectively. So let's have a look. Let's try again. There we go. Now we've got a slight issue now, because we're back on level 1, but our backdrop at the moment isn't on level 1. So what do we do? Let's have a quick look. When I receive next level, if level equals 2, so let's add another one for level equals 1. If level, you could have put if level equals 1 below the level equals 2. That would have worked as well, but this is a little much tidier, much easier to read. And it's important that you do things that are nice and easy to read. There we go. So if level equals 1, then do that. And what we can do now is, to make all of this happen, when start clicked, there we are. Where's it at? If I don't do it here, let's do it on Scratch the Cat, because he's set level to 1. After we set the level to 1, there we go. Let's move that into there. Let's put that into there. Let's put that into there. Set the level to 1, and then broadcast next level. There you go. And what this means now is that it can cope, should be able to cope with anything. Good. There we go. And it also, if you start to notice as well, it starts to make it really, really tidy, because this is the block that's all concerned about what Scratch's movement is all about. This is the script, or the block. These are the blocks where it's all about what happens when the level changes or starts. And if you look here, that's the same thing. It's the same idea, but that's what the stage does. So, and if you put them in a similar sort of place, let's put that there. When your code starts to get really complex and you start to switch between the sprites, if you organize them so they're all, this is what's about that particular sprite's moving, this is what happens when it changes the level, then it's much quicker for you to be able to read and to debug your own code. So it's a little bit of a hint there. You don't have to do it, but it makes your life a bit easier. So let's see if that works now. So we're on level 1. We move about. Oops, we're still stuck on level 1. There we go. And now if we go up here, we're on to level 2. Good. Excellent. Let's finish off the design for level 2. We'll probably move to over. I best let's put him. Let's get him so he tries to move down here. But let's just lift that up a bit. Otherwise, I don't think you'll ever get there. And let's go that colour. Now, at the moment, we've got a bit of a problem because we need that blue colour again, and I can't remember exactly what the blue colour is. Oops, and my stage has got a bit funny there. I don't know why. Oh, what has happened there? I think we'll just undo that. I don't know what happened there. Oh well. There we go. That was a bit weird. So we need that blue colour, don't we? We need that blue colour, and it's the blue colour there. Now I could try and just click on the right one again, but if I've completely forgotten it, that's going to cause me a problem. So what I can do is I can use this. It's called an eyedrop tool in most programs. So we click on the pickup colour, the eyedropper tool, and click on the colour you want. And now that's put it in our colour palette. So now if I go back to here, I've got that colour. And I could put that down here in a little circle there. So hopefully now, there we go. And so now, hopefully when we walk down to here, if we touch that, it should change to level 3. Of course, it won't change to level 3 yet until we create a level 3. And there we go, level 3. Add a similar thing here, just duplicate it, makes it much quicker to do. Switch to level 3, good. And then scratch the cat. If level equals 3, then we go to, should we start him at this corner? There we go. You can start him anywhere you like. But I'm just using that to demonstrate that you can move from place to place. So let's have a go. He walks up. Good stuff. He walks down. He walks up there. And he walks up there. Perfect. Level 2. Can we get to level 3? Let's just check as well, actually. There you go. You can see that I was just double checking that if we touch the black thing there, it would go back to level 2. It could have gone back to level 1 if I'd not programmed it right. There you go. So that's working brilliantly. Good. And you can keep doing that. That system will work for any number of levels, and you can just keep track of it, which is great. So, improvements. So now we've got a working game. That's okay. That's quite cool. And what we're going to do now is we're going to make improvements to our game. So first of all, let's have a limited number of lives. And let's say that each time you touch a wall, you lose a life. If you get down to 0 lives, then it displays game over and you've got to start again. So the easiest way to do that is, let's have a look, scratch, that's okay. So first thing we need to do is let's create a new variable, call that lives. Excellent. And at the start of the game, as well as setting the level to 1, we set our number of lives to 3. Good. There you go, done. Set lives to 3. Excellent. And each time you touch the colour black, let's just change our lives by -1. And this hopefully will now mean that we start off on 3, 2, yep, you can see it's changed to 2, 1, 0. Good. But at the moment, it doesn't really do anything because it just keeps going -1, -2, -3. So what we need to do now is here inside our touching colour black bit there, after we change our lives by -1, we can say if our lives, there we go, if our lives are less than 1, then we know if our lives are less than 1, then we know that it's game over. Well, what does game over mean? Well, I don't know yet, but I do know that instead of broadcasting next level, we broadcast game over. Broadcast game over. Good. So what's game over going to mean? Well, first of all, we're not going to switch to a backdrop level 3. We're going to create a new backdrop called game over. Game over. And for my game over backdrop, it's going to be quite simple. It's just going to print game over. There you go. I'm sure you could do a much prettier game over backdrop, but that's all mine's going to say. And there we go, game over. Click the start. Green flag to start again. Oops. There you go. I'm sure you could do a much better version. And if you notice as well, I'll scratch the cat here. He's still visible, which isn't much use. We could do with hiding him really. So what we need to say is if he receives, when I receive game over, good stuff. Let's hide scratch the cat. Goodbye. Let's just test that. The easiest way to test that is I'll just click. I'll just 1, 2. Oh, that is right. Yeah. When I receive game over, he's hidden. All I've not done yet is I need to say, just like I've done here with the next level, when I receive game over, let's change the backdrop to game over. There we go. Now there is a problem now because if I want to test it again, I press start, Scratch hasn't come back. Okay, he's not going to come back on his own accord. Computers are they're a bit silly, they're a bit stupid, so they don't know that you wanted to come back automatically. So you're going to have to tell him now that you've made him disappear, Scratch, at the start of the game, let's show Scratch. There you go, good. So now 1, 2, 3, game over. Perfect. And that should work, hopefully, regardless of what level you're on. So it's down to 2 lives. Let's see if I can get through to level 2 before I get game over this time. Oh. Hey, I am on level 2. There you go. Lives 2, level 2, and then let's go lives 1, level 0, game over. Good stuff. Okay. Now at the moment we've got these level and these lives here. That's okay. I'm going to put the lives down the bottom here, I think, actually, out of the way. And level, I'm not going to bother with it level, so let's hide the level. There we go. There we go. That's okay. There we go. There we go. Lives 3, 2. Hey, and we're on to level 3. Perfect. Good. So there's one improvement, and you could do something that says as soon as I receive level 10 or something, broadcast you win, and you could do a similar thing where instead of saying game over, it says you win. That's okay. That would work. So what else can we do to make our game a little bit more difficult? Oh, you could also do it so that each time they get through a level, they get more points. So you could do a score. So you can create a variable called score, and every time they go through a level, you can increase their score. You could also do it so that you have little power-ups or bonuses that appear on each level. So let me demonstrate that. Let's add a power-up to level 1. So I'm going to put it in this corner. If you get it, then in fact, I'll put it on this corner for level 1. If you get it, you get a bonus point to your score. So let's create a variable, call it score. There we go. Good. And at the start of the game, you set the score to 0. Notice I put it in the same position as all these. Just nice and tidy. Makes your life a bit easier. Good stuff. And let's have a look. If touching colour, change level by 1. And let's change the score by 1. So now, as your level goes up, so should your score. Let's have a look. Yeah, score 1. Good. Let's just move the score down there somewhere. There we go. And what we could do now is, let's go back to level 1. And let's say that if they go up here and collect this power-up, let's find a power-up. Let's choose a sprite thing. Bananas. They give you power. There we go. Let's have some bananas. Okay, let's put the bananas in this corner. You're a little bit big, bananas. Let's make you a bit small. Oh. Let's make you a bit smaller. That's because I'm clicking on the wrong thing. There we go. So now what we're going to say is, there's the bananas. Okay, in that corner. Now those bananas are only going to appear on level 1. And they're going to be in that top corner. So, what do we say? Here we go. When start clicked. There we go. When I receive. There we go. When I receive. Next level. If. There we go. if level equals, where's that at? If level equals 1, because we only want it to appear on level 1, then we need to show it. There we go. But obviously, if it's on any other level, then we need to hide it. So an if statement's not going to work enough. We're going to need an if else. There we go. If level equals 1, show. Otherwise, hide. There we go. So if level equals 1, show, and otherwise hide. But there is a problem, because if I go up here at the moment, if I press next level, there we go. Again, he's appeared. Good stuff. But if I go over there and I collect him for the first time on level 1, that's going to increase my score by 1. But if I then hit a wall, then it's going to reappear again, which means that you could just keep increasing your score by 3 by getting those bananas. So we don't really want to do that. What we want to say is, let's have a look. We want to say if he's not been eaten, then he'll appear. But if he has been eaten, don't appear. So how would we do that? So let's have a look. So we eaten? Yeah, let's have a look. So we need to create another variable here, and this one. Now this is the clever bit. We say for this sprite only, because that way it's an eaten sprite that only exists for that particular sprite. There we go. For this sprite only, eaten. So for the bananas, if they've been eaten, okay, and let's have a look at the start of the game. When start clicked, let's set eaten to false. Or put no. No, there we go. Set to eaten to no. Or false. In fact, let's do it false. False. There we go. Eaten. When you're programming, this is what we tend to use, true or false. So, or 1 or 0. 1 means true, 0 means false. It's fine. But I'm going to use false for the moment. So if set eaten to false, good. If the level equals 1 and, this is where we use the and bit, if level equals 1 and eaten equals false, if level equals 1 and eaten equals false, then show, otherwise hide. So that's fine, that's okay, good stuff. And now what you can say is, that's okay. What we could do now is at the start of the game, set eaten equals false, and we can do repeat until, or wait until, yes, wait until. Wait until touching scratch. So wait until, the banana is going to wait until they touch scratch. As soon as they touch scratch, they're going to set eaten to true, change score by 1, set eaten to true, change score by 1, and hide. There we go. And that should work, hopefully. Let's have a look. Let's just there we go. I'll keep that variable there for the moment. I'll keep it visible for the moment so we can debug and make sure it's working. Let's have a quick look. Let's see if that works. Can I get down there? What we will do eventually is we'll hide that. So let's have a look. Okay, so we just need to find out, does the score increase and does it disappear? The score is increased by 1. Excellent. And the bananas have been eaten true. So now if I touch this wall, scratch should appear down here again, but the bananas shouldn't appear again. Brilliant. Perfect. Good. Good. There we go. So that works fine. We know that works fine now. So what we can do now is we go back to data, click on the bananas, and let's hide the eaten because we don't really want to keep an eye on that. Now if I press start again, they should appear. What it also means now is that, let's move on to level number 2. We can also add bananas onto another level, and each of those bananas will keep track of whether they've been eaten. And that's because we did that bit where it says only apply the variable to that particular sprite. It's really, really clever, that. Simple but clever. There we go. So we're on level 2. Let's say we want some bananas down here on level 2. What do we do? Well, we click on these bananas and we duplicate them. Good. Now at the moment those bananas are hidden, so let's just show them. Let's just drag a bit of a script in there. There you go. Double click on that to show them. Let's move them to where we want to be. Now this one, what we do instead is we don't want them to appear on level 1, we want them to be on level 2. There you go. And the rest of it, hopefully, should work. So let's have a look. Let's have a go. So there we go. There you go. Perfect. So now you've got bananas that appear on any level, which is brilliant. And the next thing we're going to do is the last thing I'm going to show you, because it's quite a long tutorial, this one, is I'm going to show you how we can have an animated baddie that makes you go back to the start. Okay, so let's add, we're going to do an animated baddie on level 1. So let's pick a bat, because bats are evil. Let's have a look. Is he? Yeah, it's okay because he can fly as well, which is good. And there we go. Let's put him there. He's a bit big, so let's make him smaller again, just like we did with the other ones. And I'm going to have him flying from here to here. Good. So, what do we do? Same sort of thing. When I receive next level, let's have a look. If level equals, let's have a look. Oh, in fact, actually, no, I won't do that. We're going to repeat until. We'll do repeat until. If level equals, he's going to appear on level 1. There you go. So, if level equals 1, because he wants to show on level 1, then we're going to repeat until what? Well, we're going to repeat until we touch the cat. That'll work, won't it? Repeat until touching scratch. There you go. Repeat until touching scratch. Repeat until touching scratch. What are we going to repeat? Well, we're just going to move from here to here. There we go. Now the easiest way to do that is we'll do a glide. Let's have a look. We'll do 2 glides. Let's have a look. One from there and one to there. There we go. Now I have a feeling that's going to be quite quick, isn't it? So let's do 3 seconds instead of 1. I think you're going to struggle. There you go. That's a nice sort of thing. So repeat until touching scratch. Keep gliding. What happens when we touch scratch? Well, if we touch scratch, we want to hide. Good. Which is all very well and good, but that means that if we do touch scratch, then he's going to hide, which means that we're going to have to show him before we can hide him. There we go. Otherwise, if you run the game once, if you touch him, then he will hide, and then next time you click start, he'll still be hidden. So this way, so we'll show him, keep moving until we touch scratch. Once we touch scratch, we hide, and we change the lives by -1, because he wants to lose a life if he touches scratch. Well, scratch wants to lose a life if he touches him. And let's broadcast next level. There we go. So hopefully now oh, it's not working. Why not? Repeat until touching scratch. Ah, okay. That's why it's not working. That's why it's not working. We can't do it that way. The problem with that is the bat. This repeat touching scratch. This repeat, what happens here is it executes this block, then it executes this block, and then after it does both those blocks, it then checks to see if it's touching scratch. Okay, which isn't going to work. Okay, because it's not checking all of the time. So how are we going to do that? Well, what we'll do here instead is we'll do repeat until, we'll change this because we do want it to move. Repeat until the level is not. Repeat until the level is not. Let's have a look. What do we want? If I actually know, what we'll do is forever. So what we'll do is we'll move those bits in there so that he's always flying. Okay, he's always flying, which is good. Forever, when we press start, he's going to fly. Repeat until scratch, and then hide. Okay. What this means is now is this, because there's nothing in there to slow it down, it will constantly check to see if he's touching scratch. In fact, you could change that really just for a wait until touching scratch. That would probably work. Let's do that. Let's have a go at that instead. And this bit will constantly glide anyway. It won't matter because you'll only see it when he's shown. So he'll be constantly flying, but you'll only see him when he shows. Let's just see if that works now. There you go. Perfect. And then he'll start again. Lives are changed by -1. Good. Excellent. Good stuff. So perfect. And next level. If level equals 1, show. There we are. Let's put that in there. Because what we want to say is if the level is 1, we want to show, which is correct. Otherwise, if it's not level 1, then we need to just hide him. There you go. In fact, we probably don't need that hiding there now. Let's see if that works now, shall we? He's flying around. Good stuff. Okay. Ooh, let's see if I can get past him. Go! And there you go. Good. Perfect. So, if it's level 1 is shown, he'll fly out, you can touch him. Otherwise, he's hidden and it won't work. And hopefully, if I press start again, he appears again. Perfect. Done. So there we go. And that is your Scratch Maze game. There's lots of improvements you can make. You can do different enemies. You can do different types of power-ups. You could have a thing where if the faster you complete each level, the more score bonus you get. So if you complete it under 10 seconds, you get a score bonus of 10. If you complete it under 30 seconds, then you get a score bonus of 30. You'd have to do something sensing. Has it got time? You'd have to have a timer where you start the timer and end the timer, or you could use the current minute or something. I don't know, whichever you want to do. But those are different changes that you can do. Okay, but have fun.